How did you guys all come together?
Um, by fate. I had just moved to Vegas, and I was looking for a Mustang to be in a video.
Mhm.
And I went on Instagram, was searching up Mustangs, Las Vegas. Long story short, I met Shang. I was like, hey, because Shang got a clean ass 5.0 from his
Mhm.
album. I'm pretty sure you talked about Late Nights in the 5.0. So I said, hey, let's meet up, man. I need a Mustang for my video. And so we went to the bar. We met each other, got a good feel for each other. He told me he did music too, and we just kept in contact. And then from there, it just kind of I kept bugging him. I was like, "Yo, we need to do some music. We need to do some music." And he finally was like, "All right, we'll give it a shot." And he just took off. And the next,
Yeah, I had
well,
I had left music alone for a good 10 years, and Joe told the story how I met because of the car, and he's like, "Man, you got to do music again. You got to do music. You got to center it around the 5.0." And I was like, "No, no, 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 I'm done with music." And he sent me a beat one day, man. It just kind of caught me, and I happened to be in Barcelona, and bored out there for a couple weeks working, and so I just was sitting with that beat and came back and was like, all right, Joe, we got to record, and then it just kind of took off from there. And then Joe, you are already dealing with Czar. Czar's from Virginia, and Joe was already dealing with Czar a little bit, and then Sean Mack from Ohio came on board. We just met through social media. Um,
That's really cool.
yeah. And then Debe Dollaz is one of my guys. I've known Debe for 30 plus years. So Joe got to know um, Debe when he was living in Vegas. He met Debe over the course of us working together, and it kind of has formed into this thing.
What was the greatest challenge the group faced when creating a straight lace and no chasing sides A and B, and why separate the two instead of releasing it as a double album?
So we had a lot of conversation about that. So what we're finding through trial and error, and in our conversations with Black C from RBL, getting a lot of his tutelage and education on things, is that the longer the project, the quicker you lose the attention span of the listeners in this era, right? So
Mhm.
we noticed that, so my project, I think it was 12 or 13 tracks, but around track 6 and 7 you start to see the streams fall off
Mhm.
over the course of the album. Right after a month or so, you really get to see what the streams are doing. And Joe then saw the same thing. Joe put out a double album, and he saw the same thing, right? So we wanted to give people a product, of 8 to 10 songs, something that they could get all the way through without exiting, right? So but we also had so many good songs in our opinion that we didn't want to not put out the second part of the album. So we tried to be strategic with the sound of the album. The first one being a very 80s centric, early 90s centric sound, and then with the second side having more full records and things of that nature. So we split them into two strategically, and put them out about a month apart.
No, that's really cool. I mean, I like how it's divided. You can definitely sense a slight shift in tone. They're different enough, but that's still cohesive. The MAPA, meaning Make America Player Again, is clearly a clever play on MAGA. Given the current political climate in America, was there ever any apprehension about doing that?
no, because I knew that what I was talking about was going to steer completely away from politics.
Hmm.
Like, like, if any politics, this is more street politics. Like,
Yeah.
man, like the game is missing playerism. Like right now, the majority of the rap music is kind of dark. It's kind of copycat. It's we could be honest. A lot of people ain't really feeling too much of today's rappers. So I was like, what's missing in the game is playerism. Like cats is not. Back in the day, you had even Tupac and Biggie Smalls was on some player shit from time to time. Big
Yeah.
Papa. Right now, it's all I'm gonna drill, I'm gonna kill, I'm gonna drill. And prostitution raps. I was like, we need some player shit to come back into the game, and so that's where that came from.
Yeah, there's intention, in our music. You'll never see in any of our videos. You'll never hear. You never see guns. You'll never see, a drug, a reenacted drug situation, right? We steer clear of those types of subject, intentionally. It's not looking down on anybody who goes that direction, but that's just not what that's not the message we're trying to put out to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I just noticed too, even with the high side in part one and two, like, I mean, you deliberately say at the beginning of the second, so the, part two, like, hey, we gave them this side of it. Now we have to give them the flip side. Like, here's the pro, here's the fun, but here's the potential consequences for your actions if you don't handle the first part correctly. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, in the first high side, and there was a bit of it was very boisterous, right? It was very braggadocio, but there was, again, intent behind that portion of the song. Is how ridiculous can we talk in this first version? When I say things about my bathroom and the cost of it, and we come back, with the, hey, all right, you can do this high side, and if you'd like, but there are consequences, to those type of actions, right? So there was pure intention. I'm glad that message wasn't lost.
Oh, not at all. And I thought the use of Ice-T's High Rollers for part two was brilliant. Tell me about the album artwork.
Yeah. So go ahead, Joe.
So I really wanted something from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, like Short Dogs in the House. I wanted, like, I was thinking like Funky Fat Graphics, old Bay Area. Just something that had like that 80s look, like, we was looking at like 415 album cover. Like, we just wanted something from the 80s. And so I had came across Noel, who, did shit for Master P, who did shit for JT.
He created the Tank.
Yeah.
This is the perfect dude to capture, because he knows he actually did it. He helped create it. So I was like, this is a perfect dude to capture some artwork from that time. And so we all reached out to him and told him what we were trying to do. And it took about a couple months, because he would sketch something, and we would, you know how the process goes. Keep this, take that out. But like, once it was done, like, I think we were all in love with it. What do you guys think?
I didn't know, but that's deep, and that's even make me love it even more, right? It's got history to it. See, that's what's so needed, bro. Is history. We're really a bridge in this history of this shit. We're kids that grew up in this shit, and a lot of our people that we looking up to on their last leg or are gone, but we're keeping shit alive.
Yeah,
big, bro.
And I'll close that question out with, I think it's one of the amazing things about technology, right? But technology in itself, pre-Instagram, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you had zero access to Noel unless you knew somebody who knew him, right? So technology gives us the ability to get directly to the Noels, Black. I think, Joe, you met Black C because of social media, right? You messaged him, right? Joe met me. He messaged me. Keep the Sneak or Tash or whoever, that we're working with, there was zero access to any of these people. You had to go through the gatekeepers to get to them.
Yeah.
The gatekeepers are gone. So the artwork is a true testament to that, because this is not something we would have had access to 10 years ago.
And so, Joe, you and I were kind of behind the scenes setting stuff up, and you had mentioned that recently Snoop Dogg had posted about you on his IG. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I was telling. So about a month ago, Mike Epps had reposted Shang on his story, and then just Monday, Snoop had put me on his feed. So I'm like, me and Shang been talking. Like, I believe the MAPA name. Matter of fact, I know, because another rapper, I won't say his name unless Shang wants to say it, but another rapper had told Shang that our name had came up in the mass appeal office. So I believe right now the MAPA name is being talked about in rooms we're not in. You know what I'm saying? So we're just taking it day by day, trying to put out the best work we can put out, and let the chips fall where they fall. You know what I mean?
Let me give you a breakdown of just like where me and Shang is from. Is Las Vegas is a lot of that melting pot. Like a lot of people from Detroit, Columbus, Pennsylvania, all in those areas that are migrated to Las Vegas. And I think that when you add that West Coast influence to our sound, and Joe's moved around a lot. You know, he's from San Jose, but he was in Vegas for a stint. He was in LA for a stint. Now he's in Atlanta. So he's been around and he's cultured in it. I think that's what MAPA is we've taken all of those different ingredients, you know, that equal to the player boil, and we just put it together, you know what I mean? And I think that's why it's so organically loved, is because it's so many different perspectives from on really one topic, you know?
Can you talk about Hallway Productions?
All right, I'll touch on my experience with Hallway. So Hallway Joe came with Hallway, right? You know, so
Okay.
when we linked up with Joe, Hallway was in Joe's arsenal. And then Debe and I have been able to build a relationship with Hallway since. And Hallway, in my opinion, is by far one of the most talented producers. If he's the most talented producer I've ever worked with. You give him an idea, he expands on it, and he comes back. Like you're gonna get that track the same day.
Right.
And you know, he just I think Hallway has genius in him. And you know, what Hallway brings to the table is a very unique sound that he can move left or right to fit your sound. Hallway produced several tracks on my album, Late Nights in the 5.0, and took some very classic samples like Ice Cube's Ghetto Bird and made it a very unique, new sounding track. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think that's what Hallway excels at.
Yeah. He's got that brand new vintage sound. Right? He stays. He makes his old package fit in the modern way.
Yeah.
And that's that's a sign of longevity. It's changing with the times, but not changing who you are, right?
And that's a very difficult thing to do.
It is. It is, because sometimes, you know, you might not be on the number one pick, right? You might be a different pick, but you have to know this, that every dog has his day. And so what might not have been cool before, always gonna come back around to being cool. And so I think that he's done a great job of staying in that lane, at least from what I know of him, to hear who he's worked with before and what he's doing now. And to me, there's not really a fall off. It seems like he's just been doing him the whole time. And that's kind of longevity. So he's a great producer for sure.
Joe, tell me about the Moose Lodge talent show in 1994.
So that's the first time I ever got on the mic in front of people. The first time I ever did a talent show was in '88 to Bobby Brown, My Prerogative. Okay. but the first time I ever got on the mic and really rapped in front of people was the Moose Lodge talent show. My homeboy Toe, he was a couple of years older than me. He was like, I got this beat, and he was like, let's just rap. We're gonna do this talent show. You know, this is back in the early '90s when people thought, you do a talent show, you might get seen. You know, this is like Star Search might have still been
like
around.
Star Search, yeah.
So this other time I was like, man, you do a show, you know what I'm saying? Fucking Barbizon was still around at this time. So you do a show, you might get seen. So we did this little talent show, and we got second place, and that was the first time I was like, okay, maybe I could do this rapping thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's always a special memory for me. That was the first time I got on the mic.
So I'd slightly alter that question for you, Shang and Debe. How did you catch the bug of deciding or wanting to be an artist or work in the music business?
Debe, you want to go?
Go ahead, Shang. I'll go after you.
So for me, there was two. It's a two-part story. So I fell in love with hip hop with LL Cool J's Radio. I think that was 85-ish. So I was 6, 7 years old. And my dad brought the record home and told me don't touch it. And, of course, when he left, I touched it. And, that was in the days of the big stereos. And I got the apartment. We lived in an apartment, and, we got security called on me, and I got in trouble. I got my ass whooped. And, but I fell in love with hip hop then. And then, we have DB, we have somebody that we work with. His name is TDK, Too Damn Crazy. And I heard TDK rapping when I was maybe 12 years old, and he made it look so cool. You know, and then he started going by TDK the Great, you know, and he just made it look so cool. And he was one of my older homies, and he was the guy that was super fly, and you know, he was a high level athlete in the city, and he rapped, and he just made me want to rap, man. And you know, and ever since then, I've just been rapping, you know, and you know, it's been fun.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Mine started with, it wasn't rap that started with me. Mine was New Edition, right?
Mm.
You know, me being a singer. New Edition was mine, and you know, it was a place back here when I was a preteen. I was only 9 years old. But my older cousin snuck me into this place called That's Entertainment. And like that was the local teenage club back then in the 80s. And so this was what, 85, 86 maybe? 86, I want to say, summer of 85, 86. And so they snuck me in, and I did Mr. Telephone Man. And, you know, everybody went crazy, and I stuck with it ever since. So I say since from about 9 years old.
Do any of you have a favorite song on the new album?
Mm.
And when I say album, I'm kind of combining both of them, sides A and B.
Yeah.
I have a couple of them. For me, Movers and Shakers, Boisterous, and High Side, and I think are my three. But that Young and Dumb with Butch Cassidy and Debe and Joe, that's slowly becoming, I think, the number one song for me. But if I had to nail it down to one, I would say probably Movers and Shakers is probably my number one song.
I think my favorite is Young and Dumb because I think it's showing growth. I think that we're talking about some grown man shit. You know what I mean? Because on the album, you know, it's more party and we're kind of throwing back to the 80s and having a good time and all that stuff. But Young and Dumb is like a grown up. It's like, okay, it's like one of them real talk songs. So I think but definitely shit, it's hard. I like Dividends because Dividends is like a even though we took it back with the Three Times Dope, like it's a real stories that we're telling about these broads. But the whole side A, I'm in love with that whole side A. Side B,
I like Donkey Rope a lot.
Yeah, I'm in love.
That's another one of my favorites.
Yeah, I let side A just ride straight up.
Dee, what about you?
I like the I Know You Love It record.
That's a great record. Yeah.
Yep, that's a great one too.
Yeah, Danza and Lot really did their thing on that record. That was a great record.
Yeah, I think that was a good vibe. You know, I like Straight Lacin'. I also like the Donkey Rope. You know what I mean? You know, it's a good eclectic. And what I like is side A is much different than side B, right? Not the same vibe. It's a total different vibe, but it's two pieces of good work. And they got two different type of vibes, but it's the same type of sound. If that, you know what I mean?
It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, there you go. Sides of the same coin. Yeah.
Czar, what's up, man? Yeah, you're welcome to comment and jump in the conversation. We're just talking about some of our favorite tracks from the new project, sides A and B.
What's good, gang? Hey,
I'm
for
up.
me,
Are you still with the Shirleys? You still with the
Shirleys? Hey, man, I got a night on the town tonight.
I do you feel me?
Yeah, man. But yeah, man, you know, for me, it's gonna be High Side in part one, man. You know, that's the groundbreaking record right there, if you ask me.
And I also wanted to give you guys a shout out for MAPA's in the House, being the first album project of yours on vinyl.
Thank you.
And then can you talk about some of your work, this just kind of collectively, and I know, Joe, you've worked with them a little bit more with your collaborative projects, but your stuff with Black Sea and the RBL Posse?
Yep, so everybody on here now is pretty much right way. You know what I'm saying? So like So like I earned Black's trust after our Ruthless album to where it's like he's like okay, you kind of like the A&R for Right Way. And so like I was telling him about Shang, I was telling him about Czar, I was telling him about Debe. I was like, yo, I got some cats that we're getting ready to do something. He's like, okay, Black's laid back, he's been in the game, so he's just like, okay, I'm gonna see, and they know him now, so they know I'm true. He's Black's like, I'm gonna see, okay, I'm watching. You know what I'm saying? So we start we start one by one, just hitting them. And so Black was like, okay, I'm loving what everybody's doing. And so, so now they all under the Right Way camp.
If someone asks you, what's the one thing you want somebody who's not familiar with your group to know about? Like, what would your elevator pitch be to somebody about your group and your music?
What, Czar, you want to go first since you jumped on?
I think what I would say would probably be, we just what we say we want to do is what we want to do. So when we say we want to make America player again, we want to do that and all the facets that come with that. So we want to get the guns out of the streets, out of the raps. We want to, make the world a better place. We want to take it back to the 70s, where, somebody could, be a Mac and not have to worry about, not waking up the next morning. So
yeah,
that's what we want to do.
Yeah, man. That's a great statement, Czar. Yeah. Cool don't expire,
Yeah.
Cool is a wave, man, and we not gonna fall victim to the emotional part of the game with all the guns and the killing and the and all of that. That's emotional, right? So what we gonna do is we gonna stand on, the organics of what it means to be a player, right? It's not that I'm a pimp and I got hoes and all of this. No, it's that when I greet you, my hand is gonna be out with a big hand and a big smile with no smut on my name or no ill intent. When I'm coming, I'm shaking your hand, right? And I wouldn't bring you into no funky shit. Don't you bring none to me, right? And then as a player, it's a code, right? When I shake your hand and we link eye to eye, that means we're transferring information back, and it's like a data collection, right? So when I transfer that information, if I get the good vibe from you, right, I'm gonna keep it player with you all the time. But if I get a bad vibe from you, I'm gonna pull myself away. And these are things that all of that engulfs, like we being real men, being shaking man's hand, looking them in the eye, you know what I mean? Speaking to a lady in a way that that's different and getting your point across without having to do the theatrics, you know what I mean? And creating relationships in a way and a form and a manner and keeping it that way all the time. Like as a youngster, I've been close to the game, almost making it, meeting all of these people. I met a lot of my so-called people that I looked up to when I was, and you'll be excited to meet them. And then half the time you meet them, they're jerks. You know what I'm saying? And so that's also, is that, we always want to be presentable and approachable,
I've definitely had experiences like that too. And out of respect, I don't want to name names, but there are definitely some people it's like, oh, I thought meeting this person or this group was going to be way different than it was. And it was like, dang.
Yeah, I think for me, the way I really am starting to look at this is, this isn't cosplay, right? This is really who we are 100% of the time. This is about culture and legacy and purpose, and playerism is not just about, oh, I got a lot of girls, right? That's not always, to me, that's not even what being a player is solely about. It's very little of what it's about, right? And this is playerism at its finest, updated for today, right? I think Joe said it in the beginning. I think we've lost a lot of the playery ways that we grew up in. And this is about ownership and independence and legacy, like I said. Trying to build a brand that can stand the test of time. is really what I'm focused on. And I think collectively we're focused on that as well. I think each individual, I look at this as it's like a tree, right? And each one of us is its own independent branch of MAPA, with a deep root system, into the core of what MAPA is. So that's how I try to look at it. Just off the top, right? That's my elevator pitch, as you would say.
No, that's dope. And Shane, you had mentioned you had kind of stepped away from music and then kind of gotten pulled back in. What made you decide to step away?
That I say this a lot to Joe and Debe is I don't know that what we're doing right now would have been possible 5 years ago. I don't think music was in a place that this would have been as possible as it is today. Music has, in my opinion, shifted back, right? Music has, in a dramatic fashion, a lot of older artists are back active in the game. And hip hop forever has put a self-imposed age limit on itself. We're the only genre of music that has an age limit, and it's ridiculous, right? Led Zeppelin, Dolly Parton, they're touring and they're in their 70s and 80s, and and they're continuously putting out music. So I stepped away because it was at a time when I felt like I was getting older. I had put out multiple projects. They hadn't done much, right? Because this was the days of a hand-to-hand combat in the trunk, pushing CDs, and getting in a van and going out of town to perform, versus this digital age where it's much easier to get music to the masses, right? We all have this promotion tool in our hands, and I had just kind of I had fallen out of love with the process of making music, right? And when we started making late nights in the 5.0, I fell back in love with it. And through the MAPA process, I've fallen deep in love with it. And then, DB and I work a lot together because, we live in the same city, and we're working on something called Stockton and Malone. And, we are constantly in the studio, and that's my favorite part. It's the easiest part of what this is, but it's my favorite part of what we do, which is the creating the music.
I think that's why people are starting to gravitate toward us, because as you heard from three different people, like you hear the authenticness in what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like you could tell that they all been in the game. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what they're liking about us, is that like this ain't no cosplay. This ain't no oh, this is cool. So let's dip our foot in there. Like, no, this is what we come from. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why they're liking us.
With you guys being, in different locations often, are you able to record together?
That's the beauty of technology. We don't need to, right?
Yeah.
We record where we can record. We transfer them to the files. We send the file to the engineer, and he does his work, right?
Yeah.
We just have to worry about creating music, and
yeah.
And then a lot of times we don't even like pre-talk about what the song's going to be like. It's just like, okay, he made a hook for this, or he's got a verse that goes like this. Let me see what I can do and draw on this and see what we come up with. And it's just the formula's been working. We call it, we use the formula around here, and their formula's been working very well.
I personally am still in love with the process of recording together in the studio and the camaraderie, but the studio's it's not a playground. It's not, it's work, right? Versus, a lot of people go to the studio to party, and, we're not partying in the studio, but with everybody in different areas, I mean, it's fairly simple. I mean, we, Zaro shoot his verse, and hey, this is what I did. And then we'll take his lead or Joe's lead to what DB was saying. Usually somebody takes the lead and then we follow.
That's cool. And then I guess last question I have, this is for everybody, obviously wait till DB gets back. We covered a lot of ground, talked about a lot of stuff. Is there anything else that you guys want to add or comment on more or bring up that we haven't yet discussed?
Czar, since you're the last to get on, you want to tell them a little bit about what you got going on and stuff?
Man, I'm trying to figure out the social media aspect of this whole thing. I think that's really going to be our biggest point of contention, because there's a lot of pushback when you're dealing with algorithms and trying to figure out what the world wants to look at. But for me, like I got an album that I'm coming out with next month. So, I get into my little spells where I don't feel like doing nothing, like no music. I just be, you know, trying to be dad of the year for a quick second, and
Oh, well, family
then I
first. I
get,
get that.
yeah, then when I get that itch, I can't stop. So yeah, I think that what we got coming after what we've done is going to be, of course, better than what we did. But I think that as far as I go, every time I listen to these guys rap, it makes me feel like, all right, I'm not rapping to my best ability. So I gotta do something else. I gotta come up with some kind of other way to do this. And I've been
Yes.
getting a lot of good ROI, so I'm pretty happy with what I'm coming up with.
Yeah, it's that pressure cooker. Czar
Yeah,
is one of those individuals that every time I write a verse that I know he's going to be on the song, I elevate. I go back and I rewrite bars because I know he's going to come with. It's always
Present.
at least one bar that makes me,
Yeah.
damn, why didn't I think of that bar? So it's a good situation to be in when those around you are making you elevate. I mean, listen, I've always lived my
yeah,
life. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I never want to be the richest person in the room because I'm in the wrong room if that's the case, right? So surrounding yourself with individuals that can sharpen your strengths is a lovely situation. I thoroughly enjoy it, but these guys make all of us better.
Um, I'm happy that I came across these guys. Um, I'm happy with what we're doing, what we've done. It's being received well. Like all these guys are, like there's people hitting them up, and people that are bigger than us that are hitting them up and wanting to work with them and reposting them. And the universe is letting us know. The universe is letting us know that we're doing something right now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I'm glad that everybody's work ethic is good. Nobody's even in our funks. His funks might be a couple days or so. Like we're always working. Like everybody's got projects with an S getting ready to come. You know what I mean? So I'm just happy for these guys that I met these guys. I'm happy that we become the five deadly venoms. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
And I'm really excited for this year because we made a lot of ground last year.
We did.
Mhm.
So we're already hitting the ground running this year. So I'm curious to see what it's going to look like by December.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
DB. What about you, DB?
Tell the devil, you know what I'm saying? You better get prepared. Our feet done hit the ground every morning. We wake up, we got a choice and a chance, right? We go flex, we gonna maximize all of them every time we get a chance to wake up, right? And I think that's the beauty of this. Once you get motion, right,
Mhm.
you can't stop. You can't, or it dies. You have no choice but to get up and let your feet hit that ground and run like Fred Flintstone. Every chance you get, you got to move the machine. You got
Mhm.
a machine. Your feet got to hit the ground and they got to go to work. You got a machine to move, and that's the only way we going. We've all. This has been a lifelong journey for all of us, right? And if you can look at our beards, you can tell we're a little long in the tooth. Besides young Czar, you know what I'm saying?
As Czar said, hold on a second.
about to say, wait a minute, Rondell.
Hard,
Put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
we got to go extra hard, right? Because for a long time they shut us out, you know,
Mhm.
and now the industry is broke, and
Yeah.
now we got our opportunity, right? Y'all wouldn't let us in when you had the keys to the door. Now the door's open and anybody can run through. Oh, we come for everything they owe us.
Yeah.
Please believe that. Please believe that. Our destiny is in our hands.
Yeah.